We have a seat waiting for you in the Delmarva Life audience, and we would love to have you here with us. To book your seat, just visit delmarvalife.com, click on the show tab. On the right side of the page is the ticket tab under For Our Audience, or just give us a call, 443-880-9116.
Well, you know, photography has come a long way since the first photograph was taken in 1826. In fact, photography is now the largest growing hobby in the world.
And maybe that is because what they say is true. A picture is worth 1,000 words. But for professional photographers, a picture can also represent thousands of miles traveled and hundreds of hours worked.
For one woman, that passion has led her around the globe to capture award-winning photos.
Every zoom, every snap, every picture tells a story. These photos tell a tale of an 8-year journey taken by photographer Camille Seaman.
I think that beauty is the best way to communicate and create some sort of emotion.
Camille traveled to the Arctic and Antarctica to photograph melting icebergs.
What I saw there was so heartbreaking.
Camille has covered the globe, but she didn't start her photography career until she was 32. She says it's never too late to find your passion.
You shouldn't feel like you're fixed to one thing.
Camille contacted Steve McCurry, one of the most famous photographers of her time. He snapped the famous shot of the young Afghan woman for National Geographic.
One of the things that struck me about Camille was the great enthusiasm, the passion.
Steve became Camille's mentor.
He said that you can't fake time, and I think that's really true. When you put time in on any subject or place, it shows.
Other tips to help capture breathtaking photos: start with one camera and one format. Study other photographers' work, wait for the right moment, and get to know your subject. Camille's passion is now her career.
People needed to be reminded that there is something beautiful about this life and about this planet.
She should know. She's traveled to the ends of the earth and back to capture it.
And Camille's photographs have been published in National Geographic magazine, Time, the New York Times, and Newsweek. She was even honored by the National Academy of Sciences for her photographs of icebergs. Camille is now 5 years into a new project documenting storms.
How about that? Well, our next guest is also very familiar with icebergs and storms. As a matter of fact, he too has traveled the world following his passion. We are happy to welcome WWOC's Chief Meteorologist Dan Satterfield to Delmarva Life once again to tell us about a group of NASA scientists from right here on Delmarva who are also about to take a trip to the bottom of the world.
That's right.
Thank you so much for I want to talk to you about that trip here in just a second. But you have actually been to the ends of the earth and taken pictures of it as well.
Yeah, I recognize some of those pictures. I can almost tell where she took them. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, the icebergs off Greenland are amazing.
Tell us about yours.
Well, here are a couple. That was taken in Baffin Bay on a cold day. It was snowing in July. And we were out on a Zodiac. So most of these pictures I took on a floating little rubber boat.
Oh my goodness.
And that's another shot. That's off the town of Kanak in Greenland, which is the farthest north city in the world. It's an incorporated, the dirt Main Street means it's not really a big town, you know, but it's still, they're very happy that they're incorporated, but yeah. And there was actually a bird sitting on top of that thing. You don't want to get any closer than that, by the way, because icebergs roll over.
Oh, really? Yeah,
well,
I guess
of course,
they do.
They melt from below. They don't melt from above. They melt from below in the warmer water.
Is this one?
Yeah, that's another
that
shot
direction?
from Greenland there. Yeah.
Wow, those are absolutely amazing. They almost look like paintings. Now,
They are.
while we're talking climate, you've been working on a story about Operation Ice
Yes.
Bridge. Tell us about that.
Yeah, meteorologists and anyone in climate science too, very familiar with Ice Bridge, because Ice Bridge is kind of an emergency backup for ISAT-1, which is a satellite that died suddenly. And ISAT basically measured the world's ice. And there's only two big ice sheets on the planet, Greenland and Antarctica. Okay. And people don't realize it. 97% of all the fresh water on Earth is locked up in those ice caps. You think about all the water in the world, in the rivers, in the lakes, the Great Lakes, all of that, you think, well, that's a lot of water. It's minuscule. If the Greenland ice cap alone melted, sea level would go up 23 feet.
Oh my.
Yeah, there's a lot of water there.
And we already know what can happen when it just goes up a few inches.
That's right. So ISAT-1 quits working. ISAT-2 goes up in 3 years. We have a problem. You know, scientists don't want that break in the data. So NASA said, why don't we take some of these estimates, we'll put them on an aircraft. We can't fly over everything, but we'll fly over the important areas. And so guess where they're going to go from? Wallops Island. And this time they're putting all those instruments on NASA's P-3 Orion. And they will be flying over Antarctica in a few weeks. A friend of mine is a neighbor, and he's part of Icebridge.
Yeah.
And he's about to go. This will be his second trip to McMurdo.
Okay, why Antarctica? Isn't Greenland closer?
Yes, and here's why you don't want to go to Greenland right now. Take a look at the calendar. It's November.
Oh.
It gets very dark and it gets very cold in Greenland.
Okay.
And so the daylight hours over the northern part of the ice cap right now are an hour, and within a few weeks it'll be 0.
Not much
darkness.
photography.
And you don't
there.
go to Antarctica in our summer because it's winter down there. So in Antarctica right now it's just coming into spring.
Right.
And they will go down there for about 3 or 4 weeks. And it doesn't, summer there is very short. You know, I have some pictures of a rugby match in Antarctica on January 3rd, I think it was. And that was a warm day at McMurdo. It was up to 27, 28 degrees. Now at the pole it was 20 below, but still that's a warm day in Antarctica. That's the heat of summer there.
So you can pretty much tell them what to expect once they get down
well,
there.
McMurdo is this big, kind of muddy, rocky, volcanic camp surrounded by ice, and it can snow at any time this time of the year. But it's kind of neat because there's 24 hours of daylight. So you're looking out the window and say, I'm hungry, and you walk over to the cafeteria and you look at your watch and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, bright sunny afternoon. That's the near McMurdo right there, and that is also in what's called the dry valleys. That's the Canada Glacier. See that little device there?
Yeah.
You might not have heard it. There's another thing called ICE. It's Ice Cube, which is an observatory. It's a telescope buried in the ice that measures neutrinos, and they were putting it in, and I got to sign it. And that detector is under the ice. It will slowly move with the ice. In about 70,000 years, it'll pop up into the Pacific Ocean somewhere.
So we'll stick around and wait for
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And there, there's another shot there of Shackleton's hut, which is near McMurdo. As a matter of fact, when you're at McMurdo, the neatest thing to do is you take this long walk out to Hut Point, and there is Robert Falcon Scott's hut that he left from on his trip to the South Pole. He never returned. He died, of course.
Yes.
Amundsen beat him. And that's where he left from. It's still there. Antarctica is so cold, so dry, nothing
Preserved
rots.
it all.
It's still there. It's like walking back a century.
Okay, so these scientists are gathering information
Yep.
while they're there, and I understand that's a pretty neat process.
It is. It uses a laser, and that's really science these days, is remote sensing. That's still science. It was science 100 years ago. It's science today, is measure something and try to understand it. So how do you measure all this ice? How high is that ice?
And we
how
learned
much
that
is it
tonight?
melted? And we'll show you the laser tonight, and it's a cool thing to see.
Why do we bring him in here just to tease us?
Well, Dan, we're
Thank
looking
you so
forward.
much.
Glad to do
Wonderful
it.
to have you.
I am very
Glad
much
to do
looking
it.
forward to that. And of course, that's going to happen tonight. Operation Icebridge tonight on WBOC News at 11.
Wow.
Well, still ahead on Delmarva Life, we are in the kitchen whipping up not one, but 2 tasty dishes today. One is a tasty finger food, perfect for your upcoming holiday get-togethers. Another is just what you need to keep warm on these crisp fall days.
And while we're in the kitchen, ever think about using dental floss as a utensil? Seriously, Rachel Ray has more in this handy how-to tip.
You know, guys, dental floss, well, it's great for the end of the day after you're done eating. Make sure you clean your teeth. But you know, dental floss is actually pretty useful before you eat in the kitchen. Dental floss is sort of like a cheese wire. Have you ever heard of those or maybe seen them at the cheese counter? It's a great way to cut cheese that's very soft, like blue cheese, or very ripe brie, or a nice taleggio. It's also a clever way to cut up a cheesecake or any soft dessert that you have to be really delicate with.